you all for coming out this evening. I'd also like to thank our other sponsors for this evening, the Knox Federal Credit Union, Hardin Memorial Health, the Fort Knox chapter of the Association of the United States Army, the Meade County Chamber, the Hardin County Chamber, and the Radcliffe Small Business Alliance. Now a brief introduction of our guest speaker. Major General Evans was commissioned in ROTC in 1988 as a distinguished military graduate from Appalachian State University. He completed flight school in 1990 and started his career at the 82nd Airborne Division at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. He was then accepted into the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment Airborne, where he completed multiple assignments and ultimately as the commander of the 160th. His general officer assignments include Deputy Commanding General for support of the 2nd Infantry Division in Korea, the Commanding General of the United States Army Special Operations Aviation Command at Fort Bragg, and now is the Commanding General of Cadet Command in Fort Knox. He is no stranger to Knox, having attended the Armor Officer Advanced Course. Thanks, Dick. He has also graduated from Commanding General Staff College and the Naval War College. He holds two master's degrees, one in adult education from Kansas State University, and one in National Security and Strategic Studies from the Naval War College. I would like to thank General Evans for his time tonight, for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, Major General John R. Evans, Jr.
Hey, am I hot? Okay, great. So I tend to wander around when I walk, so I apologize if it is irritating for some people. I know some people don't like that. They'd rather I stand at the podium, but it drives me crazy. Got two purposes for being here tonight, really. The first is to kind of give you a little bit of an update on what we're doing at Fort Knox. I see lots of old friends in here, folks who have been and continue to be huge supporters of the community of Fort Knox. So there probably won't be a lot of new information up there for you, so bear with me as I go through a handful of slides. Then the second part of the evening is really about just trying to answer some questions for you or hear some input from the community, because we value greatly the partnership with all of our communities outside the gate. This is a wonderful place to live and work. I've lived in Kentucky for almost 20 years, if you count my time at Fort Campbell. Now, some of that I live in the Tennessee part of Fort Campbell, but it's Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And then my time here at Fort Knox also. But it's a real privilege to be here tonight. I do have kind of the pros from Dover sitting down here on the front row. So if you ask me anything too hard, I'll phone a friend and they can give you a better answer. But I think we can probably work through just about anything. The only other thing I would ask is obviously just keep the dialogue respectful for everybody. I don't think anybody's ever yelled at me at one of these things, but there's always a first time for that. I appreciate everybody keeping that in mind too as we have our discussion. So without any further ado, if I can get the first slide up. So again, I want to talk to you a little bit about what we think makes Fort Knox special, and it is an incredibly special installation, really, when you think about what we do here and the variance of who we have here and who we support here, and then the incredible tapestry that is woven outside the gate with our multiple communities that surround us as we spread ourselves across 3 counties. It's really a story of success and partnership in our community. And we'll talk about what's going on at Knox, and then I'll talk a little bit about what we think is on the horizon for Fort Knox in the future. I don't think there's going to be any big reveals, so to speak, with regards to things that are coming to Knox. But I can tell you, and I tell people this all the time when I talk to members of Congress or I talk to local leaders here, I'm always telling the Army, hey, we've got some capacity at Fort Knox, and like some other posts and installations across the Army, they're kind of busting at the seams. We actually have some capacity. Now, we would need additional people to support some of that capacity. And my garrison commanders are going to be going, don't sign up for anything. But we do have great capacity here with great range and training areas and a very, very capable infrastructure system at Fort Knox. Next slide, please. So the first thing I want to say up front is we appreciate your support. Everything that you do for us, our families, our civilians, we couldn't do it without you. I'm amazed each and every day as I travel off the installation and get out in the community to see how warmly our soldiers and families and civilians are greeted and embraced embraced by this community. Everything you do enables us, and we hope that our soldiers, their families, our civilians are good community members as well, that they're coming out to communities and they're investing their time, their money in the economy and being good customers and good tenants of our neighborhood here in the Commonwealth. And you know, we rely on the community for so very much of what we do. We do have school systems on Fort Knox, and we have the church system, and we've got obviously a PX and a commissary and that kind of thing. But you know, we've got an incredible amount of commerce that goes out the gate as well. We've got people investing in the churches in our communities here, certainly in the school systems here, and then out in the business districts as well. Next slide. So just for anybody who's interested in the numbers, that's a pretty good graphic there, and I would direct your attention to the pie chart over on the right side of the chart. The thing that's unique, I think the most unique about our population of about 25,000 is that only about half of it, in fact a little less than half of it, is military. You know, green suit wearing military, either active or reserve component, with a smattering of Marines in there, a couple of Coast Guardsmen here and there, and the National Guard. But what is significant is that because of the types of organizations we have at Fort Knox, with Recruiting Command there, my command, Cadet Command, Human Resources Command, and others, they're very civilian-centric organizations. We have a lot of GS civilian workers in those organizations, many of whom are also military retirees. So a very large population of civilians at Fort Knox. And what that means, I think, for the community, which is kind of interesting, is as you take a look at what the mean salary is down there with regards to rank and what people are making, either as a civilian, an officer, or a non-commissioned officer, there's a lot of buying power there. Whereas you go to a place like Fort Campbell, which is a great installation, I got many years there, but the division there tends to have the bulk of their population are lower enlisted. So again, I think we pay them a fair wage, but not as much buying power as a major or a sergeant first class or a GS-11 civilian that's going to be out there in the community working and buying things in the community. You can see where we rank. You know, when the duty day is going on and everybody's at work, we're the 15th largest city in Kentucky. That's pretty significant. It's not like Fort Bragg, which is the 4th largest city in North Carolina when it's working, but it's not bad because we're the 19th largest installation in the Army system of 174. That's actually pretty impressive when you think about it. And we've got a lot going on in Fort Knox. If you take a look over here, again, one of the things we're most proud about at Fort Knox is our incredible training area. We got almost 110,000 acres on the cantonment area and the training facility at Fort Knox, the range space, and it spreads across 3 different counties. There's challenges with that, but since we have great partners outside the gate, we are able to work with all the municipalities to make sure that we're doing all the things that we can do. Also, and I don't think this is in the slides as I looked at them, but one of the things I'd like for all of you to understand, if you didn't see it in the press, we tried to make a big deal out of it. It got a pretty good bump, but Fort Knox can actually be, in a time of emergency, energy independent. We can actually go over and turn off the prime power switch to LG&E and run the installation by ourselves. So that's important for 2 reasons in crisis. Number one, because in crisis you want the fort to be able to sustain itself. So if we're trying to answer our nation's need during time of national emergency, we can do that and not have to worry about having to run generators and where we're getting power, where we're getting water, that kind of thing. We can get soldiers focused on soldier tasks and then get them to where they need to be to protect our country. The second reason it's important is because, as everybody here probably remembers the big ice storm, I think in 2009, when we have something that significant happen in our community, Fort Knox is making a pretty big power demand on that grid. And while your homes are not getting heated and lit and everything else, Fort Knox is drawing on that power. If we have the ability to say, I tell you what, we're going to take a break from that power, we'll power ourselves. You work to support the community, get their heaters up and running, get their lights running, make sure you're taking care of those people, get their businesses running. I think that's a benefit for the community. So we're very proud of the fact that we are the only fully independent installation in all of DOD. We can run ourselves, and we've got an almost inexhaustible supply of natural gas to be able to do that with, and that is unique. We've actually got the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Installation for energy and installation, what's it called? Environment. Coming. So one of the secretary's deputies is coming here in a couple of weeks to spend time with us because of that very unique feature of Fort Knox. So I thought I'd share that with you. Next slide. So most of you probably kind of know what the unit set looks like at Fort Knox, but one of the things that's always interesting is I'm talking to my peers in the Army who are senior commanders at their installations is the amount of stuff and units we've got here at Fort Knox. So we've got 6 2-star general officer commands at Fort Knox, and 1 2-star advisory group, and then we've got 2 1-star commands here at Fort Knox. So we've got on average somewhere between 16 and 19 general officers on Fort Knox. And you go down to Fort Campbell, where my good friend Brian Winsky just took command a couple of months ago. He's got 3 generals on his post, which makes it really easy. 1 2-star and 2 1-stars. You just kind of, this is what we want to do. Everybody move out. It's actually not bad here either. I've got great partners, and I always joke with my other 2-star friends about the fact that I'm the junior 2-star at Fort Knox, but I'm the senior commander, so that's a lot of fun. But as you can see up there, my command is represented with the Army Cadet Command. Major General Frank Muth has the recruiting command. You've probably seen Frank, kind of a shorter guy, just very engaged. You'll see him on Army commercials. You'll see him out doing things in the community. He's really doing things to kind of bring more people to our Army right now, which we desperately need. So he is the right guy to come do that. First, U.S. Army Division East, Major General Terry McKenrick and his team. They are there to help in times of mobilization with our Compo 2 and 3 force. He has gone quite a bit, frankly, because none of his units reside at Fort Knox. He has to move around quite a bit to see them. But again, a great partner. U.S. Army, our 1st Theater Sustainment Command is currently Major General Donnie Walker. They are responsible for things in the CENTCOM AOR for support. So they work for Army Central Command. Donnie will be changing command this summer, and Major General John Sullivan is coming in, a great logistician that I spent some time with over in Korea, and he and his family will be here, wonderful people. United States Army Human Resources Command, the other interesting thing about Fort Knox is there's 2 2-star General Evanses in the Army, and we're both at Fort Knox. So that's the gift that keeps giving for both of us. So Jason Evans, my brother Jason Evans is over at Human Resources Command. Although I don't think there's been an announcement yet, Jason will probably be leaving that job this summer, going on to bigger and better things. And we believe we've got a 2-star that's coming in to replace him. It's also going to be a great addition to our team. Ray Royalty and his team from the 84th Training Command. Again, Ray's here quite a bit, but he's also traveling all over the country with the training command and the responsibilities that he's got there. Just incredible work. Then Aaron Walker's at the 100th Training Division. Bill, you're in here somewhere, aren't you? Where you at? There he is. So we've got an alumnus here. But they do incredible work training our forces, our reserve forces. And they are a huge part of what we're doing day to day at Fort Knox, because we are a true multi-compo post at Fort Knox. And then Jamie Shawley has got the United States Army Reserve Aviation Command. Her headquarters is here. She moves around a lot. I just saw her in Nashville over the last couple of days. We had a big aviation get together there, and she is doing great things and moving out in the community. And then Troy Koch is currently working with the ARCD as the advisor to the Chief of the Army Reserve for sessions. So he's a recent addition to the Fort Knox crew as a 2-star. He's a longtime Kentucky resident. He's got a house out near Painesville, but he is back here at Fort Knox as he's doing that job. And then we've also got all of our other commands that are operating on the installation. The garrison, obviously, with Pat County, 19th Engineer Battalion, who has got kids deployed all the time. That's an incredible engineering capability, that echelon above brigade engineer battalion they've got. And then the public health activity with Kevin Bass and his team that take care of all the health needs of our soldiers and families there at Fort Knox. And then we've got our mission and installation contract command, the MIC, which really writes some pretty significant contracts for local area and also other areas to bring things to Fort Knox to support all of our training needs. So again, pretty interesting dichotomy of things going on across all of our components in the Army. We're pretty proud of that this is a true multi-component base, active, reserve, and guard. Next slide. So what's on the horizon for Fort Knox? Well, we just finished Fort Knox High School, Middle School. We actually thought about trying to open it up for December and put them in school for the second semester. DODEA Department of Defense Education Activity decided that they didn't want to do that in the middle of the school year. So we've been making refinements, getting it ready for class. We'll open that up in the fall, so kids will start going to that brand new school in the fall. We're very excited about that. The joint land use study, we are starting that in the fall to take a look at what we're doing with regards to the range space we've got out there, to be able to report back out to the Army and DOD about how we are utilizing our space, what space capacity we have, and what things we need to do to make that better. And if you haven't been on the installation lately, if you drive by there, you can see where they're putting up. It's really framed out right now. It's coming to completion. The new Ireland Community Health Clinic. Great new facility that we're going to have there. Certainly our hospital served us well for many, many years. And then as the Defense Health Agency decided to scale that down, we said, hey, we need a new facility. So we built a new facility, and we've got a new VA facility going in as well in the next 2 years. And so that's going to be our new health clinic there. One of the really exciting things, and it'll take a while to see it manifested, is our new digital air-ground integration range, Dagger range, out on the near where Yano is right now. We're getting ready to start kind of bidding that contract out to see who's going to come in and refit that range. Once that's complete, we will be able to broaden the spectrum of the things we can do with regards to digital, our air and ground integration digitally. So better scoring, better accuracy, better training results in better readiness for our force. We will be the only installation east of the Rockies to have that capability. So that is going to continue to bring more and more training units across all components to the Fort Knox area. We're very excited about that. It will take a couple of years to build. It's a big old range. We're gonna have to go out there and dig up a bunch of things. We have to put in target arrays, put in fiber optics, those types of things. So we know it's gonna be a long-term project, but we expect to see that get finished up around the 2022 timeframe and then and move out. And then our enduring visitors that come and join my command every summer, they'll show up here in a few weeks. Army Cadet Command is still hosting all of our summer training here at Fort Knox. So as I tell the Chief of Staff of the Army and the Secretary when they ask me to describe for Congress or somebody else what cadet summer training is, we train 10,000 cadets in 100 days.